This is a new level for Kenya's corruption standards. Evidence of corruption has been stolen at the Ministry of Lands. It may not sound real, but it is. Police are investigating, or so we hope, the disappearance of a computer containing information on controversial SGR compensations estimated at billions of shillings. The disappearance of the crucial evidence is only the latest twist to a subject that has dominated Kenya's national life for the past several years now. Francis, talk of ending the year 2018 on a corrupt note.
Absolutely, and it is such a corrupt note. Or is it a note corrupt? Because common sense will dictate that if you're accused of falsifying or irregularly awarding some payments in relation to a certain transaction, that you will not come back to the same office. And if you do, the most common thing you will do is to try to hide that evidence, tamper with it in one way or another. I mean, you still wield power in that office. And probably that would inform why the Director of Public Prosecutions was looking for a scenario where if you're charged with corruption, you stay away from office for a period of time to facilitate any other further investigation that may be required as the case goes on. One would argue that before the DPP takes you to court, they should have gathered all the evidence that they required. But evidence and collection of evidence is not a one-day event. It's cyclic, you know. There's some things that will come up in the course of the trial, so that you probably will need to introduce more and more information as you move on. But on the other hand, probably it could be some drama that is being played out, that because maybe you don't have sufficient evidence, you want to play some drama and cause a scenario where you will say, look guys, I told you, I couldn't prove this case because they tampered with evidence.
Yes,
so you can look at it both ways.
But for me, I think there is something else here. I mean, it's very easy, for example, when I hear people say, blame the judiciary or which office or the other. We have to recognize that we passed a constitution that is in itself very elaborate and very vibrant, some people would say, in terms of the sort of rights that it gives to people here and there. And that is something that people are going to use either way, whether you're prosecuting someone or you're the person who's being prosecuted. They use the very same constitution to get bail. They use very same constitution to say, and we set a standard here in 2013 where you're saying, hey, before I am found guilty, I am innocent. And therefore, why are you stopping me from going on with my day-to-day life? So I think that there's a conversation to be had in this country about what kind of constitution we have vis-a-vis the things we think we want to do, without contending with the fact that the constitution actually has very elaborate provisions on different things. There are people who even say like, that person has been accused of murdering someone, let them not even come out here. But that very constitution actually provides that now you can actually give bail to people who are accused of murder. So I think we have not contended with the fact that democracy and all these rights and whatever are very messy and very expensive. So when you go through the rigmarole of what the law says and whatever, that corruption thing is going to be a difficult thing as we go forward. And it's not a simple thing as saying, oh, the judiciary should play ball. They also only deal with what is placed before them.
It's not a question of you proving yourself guilty. It is the court to prove you guilty and not innocent.
But not being in office is not an admission of guilt. It's just saying that for the moment
because the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, has not had a break, basically, from his former first term to the second term. He's been grappling with the same issue. There's a clip here. It comes from the tail end of his first term, and he was just wondering, what can I do? Let's listen.
Who releases people on bond here every day? Who does? Si ni nyinyi? What does that got to do with me? What does it got to do? I don't even have power, like I said, to appoint you or to sack you. So, mnataka nifanye nini jameni? That I have not done.
Joe, you had said that the constitution is the problem. Now, he's got, that was another set of both the Director of Criminal Investigation, that was Ndegwa Mohoro there seated, and there was Tobiko Keriako seated that day. The constitution has not changed since that day. But what has changed the office bearers, you have a new DCI and a new DPP who seem to have introduced new energy. So this argument about the constitution...
No. My point was not that the constitution is a problem. My point was that the realities of we have not internalized the realities of the constitution, because that is why we disobey orders and everything. But if you're going to work with a constitution that has such an elaborate Bill of Rights, you need people, for example, in the DPP's office. That's why he's incorporating Queen's Council and trying to get all of these guys who can work with that very, very liberal, if you like, constitution to still secure convictions for people who are accused of different things. Otherwise, you have all the big lawyers in this town who are going to run rings around you in that very court. So it doesn't matter sometimes what the DPP or DCI will do. But as long as you still have people going to that court who do not quite understand what that constitution now gives even to people who are accused, they are not going to get any convictions there, because we have lawyers who specialize in representing corruption suspects, and they do a very good job at it.
And over 15,000 of lawyers, we have I think 15,000 lawyers in this country, and some of them were complaining when Kawar Qureshi was appointed by the DPP for the particular case against Deputy CJ Philomena Mwilu. But you mentioned something. You said when the president spoke back then, there was a different set of leaders, DCI and DPP. And these days, we make a joke of the fact that head of parastatals and corporations and all those go home on Thursdays and Fridays and walk around with warm jackets because they're worried about Kamata weekend, because they may or may not find themselves in a cell somewhere ready to go to court on Monday. It shows you that there's something that is different now. One, we have over 110 people who have been implicated in corruption, all of them in different parastatals, from the Government Advertising Agency, National Cereals and Produce Board, Kenya Power, Standard Gauge Railway. And as Kenyans, we sit back and ask ourselves, this was happening all this time, and we didn't find out until now. So it looks like its corruption is so rampant that anyone who has any little chance of stealing goes ahead and does it without a care for the consequences. But now it seems like watu wameanza kuogopa kidogo.
But other than the arrests, Jamila, other than the arrests, we've not really seen convictions yet.
Exactly. And convictions, here we go, lie on the basis of evidence. And I have said this before on the show. I mean, kudos to the new office bearers. But again, we are so quick to congratulate people for actually doing their jobs. And I'm not sure that we will even know whether they have sufficiently done their jobs until we have convictions. What has constantly been the problem with cases, corruption or otherwise in this country? It's evidence gathering. It's the DCI and how they're able to gather the evidence. And this again smacks of that. What was that evidence doing in that computer? Now we hear there was no backup. Why was there no backup? Do you remember when the former CS for Lands, Charity Ngilu, closed down the lands registry to do what?
To computerize
and back up all the data. Is there a backup for that data? Is this computerized? That one person walks in and carries a CPU and that is the end of that matter. By now, for sure, the head of security there should be sitting in a cell somewhere, should be answering some hard questions. And this is not the only case in which, by the way, evidence has gone missing. The Kenya Power case, what happened with that? Again, there was some evidence that went missing, which is why, for me, until the day we see a conviction on some very solid evidence, I will hold back on congratulating
but in
the
all
DPP.
Fairness,
however, we have seen arrests.
The cases have just gone to court.
They have just gone to court.
It takes time.
Good.
They'll bring the evidence, hopefully.
And when they get to court, what happens? Some daring robbery. I mean, the audacity of this person to walk into the Ministry of Lands
robbery. Yvonne, there's a report here from NLC, and they say, contrary to press reports, the theft did not occur in the chairman's office. The theft occurred over the weekend of the 14th of December. The information data contained in the stolen CPU is available in our backup system, contrary to reports published in some sections of the media.
Francis, as you speak, I just want us to listen to the new DCI, George Kinoti, because George Kinoti has been very assertive in terms of just stating that he's going to do his job. Let's listen to George.
An economic criminal is just like that harmed criminal. So we have said for the first time that there are those who used to hear that they are untouchables. Now we want to find out who is that? Who is that? Who steals from the public? Who cannot be touched? We shall not leave anybody, surely enjoying the toil and sweat of the common mwananchi, of we Kenyans. Simply because you know somebody, your money can talk, or there are some other things. That is what we have already said. It will not happen again. It's a new chapter.
Francis, do you think we can answer that question of who is that?
Today's economic thief, let me put it that way. Today's economic thief is not like the yesteryear thief. I mean, they know, they have read this constitution, they have lawyers who can interpret some of these things. They have lawyers on retainer who can interpret these things for them. So they know, even as they engage in it, they already know what you're going to raise, they know the kind of evidence you're going to look for, and so on and so forth. I mean, put it this way, so far nobody has been arrested in relation to the theft of that CPU at National Land Commission. Nobody. Interestingly, you hear even the CCTVs were not working that day.
How convenient.
So this tells you the kind of people that we are dealing with.
Why was that CPU still there in the first place is my question. Why was it not in Nurdin Haji's office?
So, well, they are saying there are backups and so on and so forth. Kinoti has his work clearly cut out for him, and so does the DPP. These arrests may be nice, they may be good, they may be colorful, they may be headline catching. However, it is the amount of evidence that will be taken to court. It is how it is presented in court and how you convince the judges that will make a difference. And other than that, other than this evidence, other than the prosecution, there's also the need to recover the stolen or mismanaged resources, because that is where the real issue is. You cannot just say 9 billion shillings has been stolen, 2.5 billion shillings has been stolen. You take some guys to court, they are fined, and you don't recover that money. Then it's a nice thing. Go steal, be taken to court, be fined, then continue with life.
Or even serve a jail.
But for me, what I wanted to say, which is related to the president saying Nifanye Nini Jameni, one of the things that I think has been most frustrating in this country with this thing is that we don't call these things by their names. Okay, people actually steal, loot from the public coffers, then we will have all these things of economic crimes and corruption and whatever. But the worst part of it is where, for example, the president at one point told us that he has relieved some people. He said it after the fact. You know, he did some reshuffle and left some people out. Then later on he said, sinilitoa watu kwa cabinet and everything. But we were never told that Francis Gashuri, because you are involved or implicated or whatever in this corruption case, you have been fired. It's never happened. So we are left guessing, oh yeah, maybe it is because of that scandal. If we were able to do that, then that is something that is concrete, that the president, even those governors or whoever, yes, so you would actually go out and say, because we do not tolerate corruption in this country, I will not tolerate it in my government, and therefore, Yvonne, because you have been implicated in this, I am relieving you of your duty. Someday, if you clear your name, you come back. And it is that explicit, it is that clear. I think that will send a very powerful political message to a lot of this.
Societies anyway.
And you see George Kinoti there saying that he's ready to go for, who is that? Who is
the untouchable?
Whoever is talking about, the untouchable that he's talking about. But let's remember the list of suspects is yet to include a cabinet secretary.
Absolutely.
Even in ministries where the wrongdoing is so glaring, right from the days of NYS1 to NYS2, names come close, and you see cabinet secretaries backing off. You see the question of Ruaraka land question, and you see cabinet secretaries backing off and relieving the responsibility to permanent secretaries. Now we have a number of permanent secretaries facing charges. So it just says that we are not ready yet. To go for the big
We're not ready. I'll tell you what we're ready for, ladies, gentlemen. We're ready for a break. So let's take that now. When we come back, we have lots more to discuss. We'll be taking a look at what's happening, or what's happened this year within the counties. What did Joe Ageo call them? The bronze ladies, the bad boys, and the lone success, when we come back.